What's up, YouTube? I'm Bud Riedner, back in the shop with another video. Thanks for clicking on this one. If you like this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, all that kind of stuff. There's more videos down there. Anyway, a little bit different. We didn't go racing this past weekend. Got rained out everywhere. We went watched Friday, but no racing for us on Saturday. So it sits here another week on jack stands. But I did have a request or an idea, I guess. It was more of a request, but and it kind of got me thinking, like, somebody asked what I have invested or what it costs, the cost of doing what we do. And I never really thought about that because I just, you just spend the money and you have the product and that's kind of the end of it. But it does cost something. And for somebody who, watches these videos and decides, hey, I want to try that, what would it actually cost to go racing, to race one of these cars, to race the hobby style car, We're not talking racing super late models. We're not talking about having a whole, team or a pay-to-play kind of deal. This is a hobby. I would call this a hobby grade race car. Something you can, you and your buddies can build in your shop yourself, take it to the racetrack and have some fun. That's kind of what I do because I can do it for the cost or the amount that I can do it for. So before we get going, let's talk about what this even is. What is this? What do I race? In Wisconsin, this is called a hobby stock. Some places call it a pure stock. Some places call it a limited street stock. Bomber, whatever they call it, wherever you are, this is what I run. Has to be a factory firewall, has to be factory roof, factory quarter panels, factory frame, stock pickup points. All the suspension points have to remain OEM. We run a GM crate engine. No screw jacks. We can run shims, but no screw jacks. Stock rear ends, turbo 350 transmission, open rear ends, rear drum brakes. That's what we run. This is I don't know if you call it an entry level so much anymore, but it's definitely on the money scale. It's definitely at the lower level, which is 100% fine with me. I've always been one to race under my means. I could probably do something else and be competitive in it. But for me, it's a matter of if I run a thing off in the fence, I like to know that I can fix this and pay for this out of my own pocket and don't have to rely on anybody to help me out. So with all that being said, what do I have invested in this? I built this car brand new in 2020. My dad's always built his own stuff. I've always had cars that I've raced that were something he built, and I wanted to build my own. So the car I was driving, I sold it and decided to build this one. So the first thing you're going to need, I'm going to go at this before we get started. Let me backtrack. I'm going to go at this with the assumption that you have a truck, you have a trailer, because somebody knows somebody with a truck and somebody always knows somebody with a trailer. So I'm going to assume that you have a way to get yourself to the racetrack. I'm going to assume you have 2 ounces of fabricating ability and you can cut and weld and things like that, or you have a buddy that can. Like I said, we're not paying somebody to do this. This is a hobby grade style race car. So I'm going to assume that you're like me. You have a little bit of ability. You can weld, you can cut, you can do a little bit of fabricating, and you have the tools to do so. Whether you have them, your buddy has them, whatever. I'm going to assume we're doing the work ourselves, right? So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is a car. This car started out, this rolling chassis, started out as a street car. It was a 1979 Oldsmobile Cutlass Salon, one of the goofy notchback, hatchback looking deals. That's what this is. This is not a Camaro. It's not a Leaf car. This is a G-body, a metric car. So that's what this car started out as. When I got it, it was a frame, rolling chassis, had a body, had a firewall, had a motor, but it was obviously nothing that we were going to use. So basically, when I started, I stripped this entire car down. I had the tub off the frame. It was all the way down to the bare frame. Got the frame sandblasted and brought it back to my house, put it on jack stands, started building it. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is get yourself a car. I found this one. A guy up a couple towns north of here is him and his brother are big into G bodies, and I bought this car as a roller in street trim still for those guys for $500. Okay, so we're $500 invested into our race car so far. Then I had a buddy that I know, and my dad knows actually, a friend of the family kind of deal, does industrial sandblasting outside of town. He sandblasted everything for me. Okay, so next you're gonna need to get yourself a cage. You can buy cage kits. You can bend your own cage kit. My dad is a tubing bender, so I went with the bend your own tubing, I guess, if that makes any sense. So I bent my own cage. Basically, the only bars that I have bent in my car are this main hoop, the halo, and the door bars are bent. Everything else is all straight because I do not have a tubing bender at my house. So it's easier for me to do the dash bar mitered like that than it is to dink around trying to get it bent and then whatever. So I decided to go that way. So for the cage and all the tubing you're going to need to build the entire chassis, you're looking at $800 to $1,000 for we'll call it a kit. Usually when you buy a kit from a cage kit, like the way my dad sells them, you get everything that's bent. You get the 4 door bars, the main hoop, the halo, and enough straight tubing to do the whole car. So you're looking at $800 to $1,000 basically in tubing and a cage kit. Okay? All right, so now we got our cage on our frame. We have a chassis. Okay? We're going to need to get a drivetrain. You're going to need something to power it. Like I said, this has a GM 602 crate engine in it. It has a GM Turbo 350 behind it with a torque converter. When I bought this engine transmission combo, I bought it from Thierry's Race Engines up in Rosendale. I bought it air cleaner to oil pan, water pump to tail. Actually, I bought the transmission separate, but water pump to flex plate. I bought everything you need. I mean, I bought everything. I bought the MSD box. I bought the plugs, the wires, the manifolds, the carburetor, all the front drive stuff, all the accessories. I bought all that stuff together. I bought the transmission. Comes from Patrick Transmission and Automotive in Beaver Dam. He's built all my transmissions for probably going on 10 years now. He's built every transmission I've had in my race car. Had great success with Tim. I bought the I went with nothing. I didn't bring him a core. I didn't bring him anything. I bought a brand new rebuilt transmission and a brand new torque converter out of the box. It was like right at $700. So with the drivetrain, basically, like I said, water pump, the tail shaft, carburetor, oil pan, you're going to be right at probably $7,000 with that, and that's brand new. Now, are there other options? Yes. Do I trust those other options? Probably not. We're going to get into that in a little bit about where to spend the money, but that's how I spent it. I bought brand new motor, brand new transmission, brand new accessories, stuff like that. Drive shaft. I had a drive shaft built for this car because the engine's got a little bit of setback, so I had to have a custom drive shaft built. That was $250. The rear end came with the car. That rear end in this car right now is the rear end that was in the car when it was on the street. Obviously, I'm not just going to trust that that's going to be right after 30 years of beating around the roads of Wisconsin and jumping through how many cornfields or railroad tracks or whatever. So I had the rear end sandblasted, took it to Machine Service Incorporated. They put the correct ring and pinion in there. They used the carrier that was in there. They used the housing, but new bearings, new seals. I went and put new backing plates and new brakes on it myself. So total in the rear end, we're about $700. That's complete. That's, like I said, that's Mosier axles, 5/8 studs, new drums, new backing plates, all new brakes, all new hardware, everything brand new, painted, bushings installed, in the car, ready to go. It was like $700. Okay, so now we got a chassis, a drivetrain, a rear end. We got to put some suspension on this thing. So I use all the stock lower control arms. That control arm there and the control arm on the other side are the ones that came with the car. Those were in the car when I bought it. That's why I bought a car as a roller. So I had the option to use all that stuff without having to buy it out of a catalog. I knew it's a little more work, you know, getting 30 years of grease and grime unstuck and, you know, cutting off bolts and getting rid of bushings, but it saves you having to buy a brand new stamped or aftermarket lower control arm. We have to use stock control arms, but they do make aftermarket ones. You know, there's AFCO makes an aftermarket one. It's a stock stamping. It's never been on the street. Well, those are more expensive. This is a cheaper option, so this is the way I went. So suspension complete. You're probably $500 by the time you get new bushings, ball joints, you know, new center link. Don't use the old center link. Don't use the old tie rods. You'll replace all that shit. I had to buy a steering box for it. So you're probably at $500. Now, with that being said, there's a sub line in there. This does have the Coleman safety hub. So that's actually a bolt-on rotor with what they call a safety hub, because on these cars, the hub and the brake is all one piece. Well, if you break a rotor, you break the hub, the tire comes off, we got a big problem. So these cars have a separate, at least this style hub, has a separate hub that the caliper actually bolts on. So when you smoke the rotor, or sorry, not caliper, rotor. When you smoke the rotor, you just unbolt the rotor and bolt the new one on. The hub stays where it is. That's like a $700 or $800 upgrade to do both sides. I didn't do that right away because when I built this thing, you know, money was getting kind of tight. So I built this car brand new for 2020, and for 2021, I did the brake upgrade just because, like I said, it was easier to spend $700 when I wasn't spending any extra money versus $700 when I'd already spent what I had spent. So I ran a year with stock calipers. It can be done, stock rotors. It can be done. It's nice having that insurance that if things go sideways, you're not going to end up stuck in the fence. So now we're basically a roller, right? We're a full roller. We got drivetrain, chassis, suspensions in it. We're good to go. So that's where we're at. So we got to put a body on this thing. You can use the stock panels. You don't have to. Some guys do, some guys don't. It's kind of a personal preference thing. For me, I always build my own panels. I build my own fenders. You know, these are all fabricated fenders. I build my own doors. The cowl's been built. The quarter panels have to remain stock. Roof has to remain stock. But, you know, everything else is just sheeted. All this stuff is all hand formed and made by me. The bumper covers come from 5-Star. You know, deck lid I made myself. The filler panel I made myself. All the glass I made myself. So if you're gonna, I don't know exactly what sheet metal costs nowadays. I kind of figured you're at $1,000 by the time you buy good rivets, a nose piece, a tail piece, you know, all the material to do it. You know, I'm assuming you have some sort of fabricating tools. If not, maybe you can take them to a guy who has take it to your local HVAC, you know, place and see if they can bend you up a set of fenders or whatever. And that's how my dad did it when he first started. He didn't have a brake, and he would take his stuff down to the heating and cooling place in town here and have them bend up some fenders for him. So I'm assuming you can do that. So materials, you're probably at $1,000 for a body. Interior, about the same. Interior is, you know, I don't know. You can get as extravagant as you want. This one's kind of plain Jane, but you know, that's like from here back is all fabricated on this car. Dash, obviously, I made myself. Floor pan's all 16 gauge steel. So there again, you can get, you know, as fancy as you want. So there again, you can get as fancy as you want. You know, it's just kind of one of them things that, whatever. I figured $500 for an interior, you know, just by the time you buy materials, and it's kind of the same thing as the body, but it's not as, the body or the interior doesn't take as much effort, I guess. I mean, basically fill in the big holes and you're good to go. That's how I look at it anyway. All right, so now we got a body, a rolling chassis, we got to get some safety stuff in here, right? So you're going to need a seat, you're going to need a suit, you need a helmet, you're going to need a set of belts. I run a Turkey full containment seat. I run just Titan belts. I mean, I don't spend a ton of money on that. Maybe I should. I don't know. Some people, I see some people have $300 set of belts and a single layer, non-containment seat. So I don't know who's right, who's wrong. I don't know. Do what you feel, what makes you feel safe. So I figure for safety stuff, you can buy a single layer seat, non-containment seat. You can buy, a single layer suit. You can buy a cheaper helmet. I don't know. I mean, I'm not advocating that stuff. My suit's $1,400. My seat's $1,700. My helmet's $350. I mean, you can spend as much as you want on that stuff. And I would rather see somebody spend a lot of money on safety equipment and skip getting yourself a nice wrap. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, not everybody thinks that way. Everybody wants it to be nice and shiny, and that's like the old adage: a $10 head for a $10 helmet, right? So I don't know. I mean, you're looking at least $1,000 in safety stuff, no matter what you do. If you don't have any of it, so just plan that way, Okay, so we're pretty much ready to go to the racetrack. Gotta get some paint and some letters on it. Paint. Everybody knows a buddy who has a spray gun, right? So I figured $300. That's kind of what I figured. I am fortunate enough to have a friend of mine, Aaron Falvey, up at Falvey Auto, who paints my cars for next to nothing in a case of Miller High Life. Not everybody has that, but like I said, everybody knows somebody who can throw some paint on. If not, I'm not gonna lie, I've done the old Ace brand, paint in a roller before. There ain't nothing wrong with that either. It all looks good from the beer garden the way I look at it. So let's say $300 for paint, no matter what you do. Lettering. Here again, you can spend, there's guys spending $1,000, $1,500 on a wrap. Is that for me? No. I letter this thing myself. It literally costs me nothing to letter my race cars. I have the brushes. My paint's years and years and years old. It's paid for itself 3 times over by now. So to do all this literally costs me nothing except for a little bit of time. But I figure if you got a guy, or somebody, your local sign shop, you want some numbers cut out and some names or whatever, you're probably at $500 is kind of where you are. So if you add all that up and you take everything into consideration, the way I did it, the way I went racing, just to get yourself a car that's race ready, you can hit the button and go racing, with everything I talked about, we're at $13,650 is what this would cost to build it yourself, no labor included. So now let's talk about where you spend the money, right? I'm a huge advocate for spending money in the right place, okay? So many times I see people show up to the racetrack with complete wore out, clapped out buckets of junk, but yet it's got $700 in long anchor digital gauges in it. Well, that don't mean shit when your car don't even run, right? So let me show you some places where I save some money and some places where I spend some money, okay? Let's start at the front. Okay, GM 4-blade fan. They're like $50 at a parts store. That's what I buy. Pulleys. You can go out and get yourself a really nice Joe's front dress kit. It has upper pulley, lower pulley, cog belts, all lightweight, whatever. Let me put it this way. I've never gotten beat thinking, boy, if only I had that $1,000 front dress kit, I would have won the race. No. I run deep V pulleys out of Mid-State or out of Motor State, and literally a couple of belts that come from the parts store. That's what I buy. Same with the fuel pump. I run a $70 Carter fuel pump because they've never let me down. I run a really nice AFCO Stage 2 water pump because I don't like my shit getting hot. I run a really nice KRC power steering pump. I spend the money there because to me, that's important. I run really nice AN fittings with braided hoses for all that stuff because I feel like it's important. I don't spend a shit ton of money on, fancy stuff, but I spend a lot of money on a really good carburetor just because that to me is important. Same with gauges. I would rather run these $80 glow-in-the-dark. I don't have any lights in my car. When I hit the switch, nothing comes on. These just glow in the dark. It's got a green back, and at night they glow, and that's it. There's not any extra wiring. There's not any extra wiring in my car. I don't run dummy lights. I don't run a oil pressure light or a water pressure light or a water temperature light. Mostly because too many times I've seen them little sending units fail and blow oil all over the place. I've had it happen myself, not in a car that I was part of, but a car that I was driving. Oil pressure sending unit blows apart. I got oil blown all over my legs for something that you didn't have to have in the first place, So I would rather buy 2 gauges at $80 a piece, and the guys who are spending $700 on Longacre digital gauges, I'd rather take that $640, and spend it on a really nice rear end or another set of wheels and tires, you know what I mean? So I don't spend money where I don't feel like it's not a performance advantage, right? I don't run a tack in my car. I never have. We're on a 6200 rev limiter, okay? My car either hits the rev limiter or it doesn't. I don't need a tack to tell me that. I can hear it hit the rev limiter. What do I need to spend hundreds of dollars on a tack for? Same with my battery. My battery is a $60 or $70 over-the-counter Pronto battery. It's not a 16 volt, super fancy. I will not run an Optima. No way. That's way too much money for what you're getting. I put it on the battery tender every week. I charge it between the heat and the feature. Never let me down. I don't feel the need to spend that kind of money if you don't have to, right? But I have a really nice ring and pinion set. I have a really nice transmission. I have a really nice carburetor. I have a really nice radiator. I have things. The things that I spend money on, or the things I feel somebody should spend money on, are the important things, right? So many times, and if anybody's thinking about going racing, please do yourself a favor. Please spend the money on things that matter, right? $1,000 wrap will not make your race car faster, okay? Chrome anodized pink wheels will not make your race car faster. A suede gun-drilled steering wheel will not make your race car faster, but it costs you a lot of money. I mean, yeah, it's cool to have that stuff, but at the end of the day, we're not at a beauty pageant or a beauty contest. We're at a racetrack trying to go fast. If it doesn't make your car go faster, I don't put it on my race car, That's just how I feel. So, like I said, I hope this helps out somebody. Maybe not. Maybe I look like a total idiot, but somebody asked about it, so I thought I'd give my 2 cents. So, with that being said, if you are thinking about going racing, please spend the money in the correct spot. Get yourself lined up with somebody who has a good reputation. There again, I see people come into the sport and get hooked up with the wrong people right off the bat, and they're not around very long because they've either been bled dry of money, or they get a bad taste in their mouth and they're gone. I hate seeing that. Every time I see somebody come in, I try and kind of steer them the right direction, the direction that I feel is right. Like I said, I've been doing this this is 20 years for me now. I've been doing this. Started in 2002. 2022, we're still going strong, and I feel like you're not going to do that for that long with the amount of success that I've had if I'm doing it the wrong way, So some people may agree, and that's fine. I mean, everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and this is just how I've done it, and like I said, I don't feel the need to change. So hope this helps. Hope this was it's not the normal video, but like I said, somebody was curious about what it costs, and that's kind of where we're at. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, make sure you drop them down below. You guys keep doing what you're doing. Everybody's, I got so many comments and people talking to me about what we're doing here. And I don't know, it makes the guy feel good that all this work and stuff is kind of paying off, and I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys, subscribing and leaving comments and stuff like that, and it means a lot. I really do appreciate it. I can't say that enough. And if anybody has any questions, make sure you let me know. Other than that, we're hopefully going to go racing somewhere this week. I don't know if I'm off, or I think it might just be Easton racing this weekend. But either way, we'll see you at the races somewhere along the line. So until then, take care of each other, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.